Today's sponsor is Audible.com, who has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at audibletrial.com/CA Telecast. This month we're recommending The Disaster Artist, My Life Inside the Room, the greatest bad movie ever made, by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell.
Greetings, travelers. My name is Nick Murphy.
And my name is Satchell Drakes.
And welcome to Cinephilia Anonymous Telecast. We're going to take you on an interstellar adventure through the darkest corners of your mind to unlock your hidden passion for cinema.
How was your last week, man?
It was great, man. Dude, a lot of good stuff. You came down last week. We went to a soccer game. That was a lot of fun.
That's right. Shout out to Matt Tilby, who came all the way from Australia just to hang out. We had a super American weekend.
Yeah, super American weekend watching football, soccer.
Yeah. Soccer, yeah. Equipped with beer and fireworks.
Dude, there was fireworks. It was awesome. It was very cool. I did the super not pedestrian, super touristy thing, even though we were in our own city. I did the super touristy thing where I was like, I'm going to film the fireworks.
Dude, that was so good. You nailed the bullet time down so hard.
Yeah, dude, I did that slow-mo thing. So I
didn't even catch you. You're such a ninja with that. Like, it was only at the pier, and I was like, is he recording something?
Dude, I have to, man. So, like, we brought our kid, and it was like, he's like adorable. So I want to capture all these moments. So I made this thing he just turned 1, and I made this little video of just like highlights.
Dude, that hit me right in the feels. That was so good.
Oh, thanks, man. I thought about it, and I was like, this is my skill. I should use this for good. If I wish I had more video of me when I was a kid. So he's going to have a surplus of video when he's a kid. Mm-hmm. And so these fireworks are going off, and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I remember seeing this shot in, Brokeback Mountain, where, one of the cowboy dudes is like standing there, and Ang Lee shot it, and it's like super slow motion of these fireworks, and he's like silhouetted by fireworks. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I'm like, I can get that shot for my son right now. That's awesome. That's one of those mental Rolodexes where you pull it out and you're like, cool, perfect. I've always wanted to do this.
That's freaking cool. I love when it hits you in the moment. You're like, all right, tools. I need to pull out some tools right now. What am I going to use?
Yeah.
And you get your duct tape, you put it all together, and it's just,
dude, it's so crazy. And it's moments like that where you realize the age that we live in, where we have an amazing camera, an amazing for our time camera, I'm going to say, and an amazing for our time video camera, all in our pocket, ready at a moment's notice. It's incredible how many moments and how many things you can capture just at the speed of thought. It's phenomenal.
I agree. We don't need a $10,000 FS7 to get some decent bullet time to throw up on Instagram.
Yeah, but I mean that would be kind of sweet.
That would be sweet.
Did you ever look at the high speed cameras or the Phantom cameras? And I was like, it'd be really cool to get one of those. And it's $100,000, and I was like, all right, that's a little bit more.
And even to rent, it ends up being 4 digits.
Oh, dude, yeah, easily. It's easily a few $1,000s, man. Even for a red, to rent a red package is apparently $3,000 a day. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's for the epic, so the super big Lord of the Rings quality one. But even a red one is still I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 a day. It's kind of nuts.
It's that demand. People go straight for the top shelf.
Yeah, man. It is really nice.
But it's beautiful. It yields a really good image. That's really the kind of overhead you want. It's great to see. It's great to see film in a place that it is right now. Yeah. Where now for me, I think a lot more about photography, where for the longest time I've been shooting stills on these cameras that have a crazy amount of megapixels that usually don't end up translating to the kind of canvas that I'm using at the end of the day. Usually everything ends up going to web. So you're doing crazy downscaling, but it's good that you always have that crazy overhead because crunching things down usually brings out like a lot of levels of clarity that you need, and maybe you want to crop things in a certain way. Like you don't want something that's kind of far off to the left or far off to the right. And I'm so used to that flexibility. And for the longest time, like thinking about it, a lot of filmmakers just had to kind of deal with shooting to the final canvas.
Yeah, you shot what you got, and that was it.
And that was the
once
end
you
of
started blowing it up, it started looking terrible. But now, with like 4K, I mean, you can. Well, on Smart Guys, we shot 4K, knowing that we would never like deliver to 4K. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We shot that with that in mind. So okay, we could reframe this shot in post, and we did that quite a few times, knowing that we were going to dump it down to 1080p, and it still would look phenomenal.
Yeah. And that having that freedom to reframe is just so powerful. I mean, even for people who plan on exporting 4K in the end, like you have these not completely out of reach cameras, like the Blackmagic Ursa Mini that like will shoot 4.5K or like 6K, and it's just crazy to see like everyone's sort of catching on to this idea that, all right, we're not shooting to canvas. Like we want to have like the best thing that like the best raw thing that we can have to cut down.
Yeah. Well, even like the, there's a hack for the 5D Mark III that will let it shoot raw.
That's right.
Which is nice. My friend Sam, who's helping us with a lot of stuff, he like has been doing that for, a lot of stuff. And he's like, oh, it's just like the perfect camera. He's like, the workflow is nice and easy, and you get raw on top of that, so you can really push the image and play around with it after the fact. He's like, 4K would be ideal, but sometimes you don't need that workflow, and sometimes it's nice to have like it's small and contained and work within those constraints.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's talk about our film that we watched.
Yeah,
this
Safety
week.
Not Guaranteed.
Yeah, Safety Not Guaranteed. Really interesting movie. I'll give us some backstory for the uninitiated. It came out in 2012. It's a comedy film. It's directed by Colin Trevorrow, who recently directed Jurassic World. And the premise, basically, I guess, Satchel,
which is interesting to think about, or is it interesting to think about? Like, I imagine you might have a little bit of a better understanding of the industry. Like, is it common for directors to kind of like jump around? It seems like a jump to me. Or
it seems like, watching the first half of this movie, I thought it was a jump. And I was like, wow, this guy landed Jurassic Park. That's incredible. Like, how did that happen? And basically, it happened that, like, I don't know if he's like friends with Brad Bird, or like if he just like Brad Bird was like a fan of his. Wait, was it Brad Bird, or was it maybe it was. I was reading about it because the way he got Jurassic Park was that Brad Bird basically suggested him to do second unit on the new Star Wars, or maybe it was J.J. Abrams. Either way, I'm getting all mixed up. He was supposed to work on the new Star Wars movie, and gave Kathleen Turner, who was like the producer on Jurassic Park and the Jurassic World. She didn't produce Jurassic World, but she was at the time. Brad Bird gave her a copy of Safety Not Guaranteed, and she watched it. She's like, wow, this is incredible. This is really interesting for, someone who, it's like he hasn't done that many films. He's very like,
right.
It's just an interesting idea and an interesting like concept to get to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it definitely showed off a lot of versatility. Like, I kept trying to like pin down, all right, what is the genre that this thing falls into? You know? And largely, I mean, here's what I've come up with, and I want you to take a crack at it as well. It is a closet sci-fi disguised as a Reality Bites drama, or like a Reality Bites romance or something.
Yeah, dude, I was describing it to my wife as like, yeah, like the disguised sci-fi is really good. I said it was like a Garden State-esque secret sci-fi movie. Yeah, it was just like, you don't really know if it's actually a sci-fi movie until it kind of like, it's not even the third act. It's like the last, like
it's
5
the
minutes of the
very
movie.
end that you're like,
basically.
okay, yeah, because you're kind of
like,
speculating, is this crazy, or
yeah, like what? So give like the rundown of like the kind of the plot line for someone who hasn't seen the movie.
So for the non-inaugurated, this film really revolves around 4 characters, right? Darius, Kenneth, Jeff, and Arnau. Arnau, I think is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And Darius is the protagonist, played by Aubrey Plaza. And in my opinion, it's one of her.
Did you hear that?
Most...
My Alexa just went off.
Is that what that was?
Amazon Echo just went off for no reason.
Did I say anything that sounded like Alexa? Or...
I don't even know how.
What's the initiator word for that, for the Echo?
It's Alexa is the initiator word, but
okay. That's funny.
That's so weird.
Having trouble connecting to the internet? Take a look at the help section in your Echo app.
I don't want to do any of that.
That's amazing.
I have headphones on. I don't even know. Oh, I guess you just can't connect for some reason.
This podcast is sponsored by Audible and Amazon Company. But while you're on Amazon.com, please go and pick up an Echo.
Dude, it's a cool little toy. I'm gonna try and turn it off. Hold on one sec.
Okay, sure. Do your thing. Hey guys, how you guys doing? Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We are super humbled and super honored that you would listen to us walk through Safety Not Guaranteed. It is a personal film of mine that we revisited. That I did not provoke us revisiting it, but Nick brought it up. And
it's been on my list.
Nice.
That's what I was interested in watching it for the longest time.
And I was interested in rewatching it because it totally hit me in the feels.
Sorry,
we're back.
We're back.
What were we talking about? Oh, yes, the quick rundown. Okay,
yeah.
So you have these 4 characters. Darius is the protagonist, played by Aubrey Plaza. And she is she's this very brutally honest cynic who seems like fresh out of college, or at least gathering her bearings in the employment world, not very professional, comfortable with her long list of shortcomings, and very observant of her surroundings.
Yeah.
So the film kind of starts off with her I'm not going to explain the whole film, but it starts off with her applying for a job and her being brutally honest about all of her shortcomings. I think it's for a Panera, and essentially she fails the interview, and it's really not a surprise that she does.
Her honesty kind of gets the best of her.
Yeah,
she's almost honest to a fault.
She is honest to a fault. Yeah. And she lands a job as a custodian at this up and coming magazine. So while she's there, she's an intern.
She's an intern
doing
custodial things.
Right? Yeah, more like that. Yeah, she's an intern doing custodial things, and she gets thrown on this team to investigate a newspaper clipping in which a man named Kenneth wants a partner to go back in time for a special mission that is slowly revealed as the movie progresses. So she's thrown into a group with her superior, Jeff, who's sort of this very with it, very business savvy, very talk savvy, kind of slick talking, well put together guy who leads the team and, puts her on she kind of volunteers to be the partner, I guess, because she's sort of intrigued by Kenneth's newspaper clipping, and she's starting a team with him and Arnau, and they end up in just a whole slew of shenanigans as she tries to dive deeper into understanding who this Kenneth guy is, and Jeff tries to be Arnau's wingman for whatever reason, and Jeff has his own kind of side relationship with an old friend while everything is going on, which serves as really interesting comic relief. And it's all about exploring the idea of going back in time and facing your regrets and taking life by the horns in a kind of way.
Yeah, and I think it does what a lot of good sci-fi movies do, is regret is such a powerful thing that it seems to be the inspiration for a lot of time travel movies.
Yeah.
I was fascinated. So I heard about this movie, and I heard about the premise behind it, and the wanted ad is based on a real thing. And the wanted ad reads, "Wanted somebody to go back in time with. This is not a joke. P.O. Box 91, Ocean View, Washington, 99393. You'll get paid after we get back. You must bring your own weapons. Safety not guaranteed. I've only done this once before." So already it's okay, crazy, and then it's oh, the last part is it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you immediately disregard it as, this is the musings of a crazy person. This is a crazy person. And then we meet
Right. And that's sort of like the incentive for them to investigate in the first place. So like this team at this magazine, they're looking for a really good, entertaining, comical story.
Yeah, and they're like they're like a BuzzFeed.
Yeah, essentially
kind of
they're
place.
BuzzFeed. Yeah. And Darius believes for some reason.
Yeah, I'm interested to know like the origin of her name. I found it such an interesting name to.
Yeah, it's usually a guy's name.
Yeah, like Hootie, right? Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hootie. Dude, do you remember, sidebar, do you remember, this is so specific, way back when MTV had like quality content, they used to have like this equivalent of like a robot chicken, but it took place like in between music videos. And there was this one skit for Hootie and the Blowfish where there's this guy where Darius Rucker, he's in the CD store and he's buying the CD, and the clerk is like, "Are you Hootie?" And then he's like, no, my name is Darius. And then he's like, "You're from Hootie and the Blowfish though, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." "So you're Hootie and they're the Blowfish. You're Hootie. Guys, it's Hootie." And he's like, "My name is not Hootie. It's not Hootie." I'm guessing it didn't, but it was an amazing skit. It just came to my mind.
That's awesome. I don't remember.
Sorry, blast from the past. Yeah.
Are you telling me that I would use the time machine to go back and watch that? Yes, I would. I found it really interesting watching the whole thing, and I felt like the entire time I was like teetering on, is this real? Like, is he really a time traveler? You know what I mean? And I think the film does a good job with that. Like everyone around him disregards him as like a crazy person, disregards Kenneth as like a crazy person. But like, I feel like Darius believes, and it makes you want to believe.
Yeah.
And just how like I wrote this note about like how Mark Duplass is just like, he's phenomenal. Like I was like, he is phenomenal. Yeah. He plays like ridiculously confident really well. Mm-hmm. Like, and the way he speaks about everything, you're just like, oh, well, he's speaking with authority. He must know what he's talking about. He must be telling the truth. His performance in it is really, really interesting.
Yeah. He's an incredibly charming, crazy person.
Yeah. He's just like, so his character's like really well written too. Like, Kenneth is like so sincere that you can't help but believe him. You know what I mean? Like he's talking about,
or you at least want to at least want it to all work out somehow.
Yeah, you're actually like I feel like rooting for him, and I was like I know he is like a crazy person with like, I don't know, like really strange ambitions, but because of how confident he plays it, it's incredible, and you just feel for him so much. Like when he's talking about his past and stuff, and like like it's all genuine. Like I love the quote. He's just like, you know, this is where I put my Star Wars figures, you know, because they would get lonely. And I was like, that's not a joke. Like he believes that, and he believed it when he was a kid, and like still believes that, you know. It was really interesting.
Yeah. And on the opposite end, like Aubrey's performance is really believable because all of her motives are kind of set into place for wanting to go back in time. Like when he asks her, like, what time would you go back to? And she sort of unfolds, you know, the fact that she would go back to before her mother died, and, you know, kind of leads to, we can talk about it more later, but she sort of like alludes to her having this sort of personal regret and taking personal responsibility for the passing of her mother. Like her response is like, everything cool is gone, you know?
Yeah.
And it's sort of confirmed by this escapist, imaginative, lonely demeanor that she has, like when she's having dinner with her dad. Even her dad knows that she's like completely socially stagnant, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And what I love about Kenneth's weeding process for his partner is his interaction with Jeff, which reveals that he's not just looking for somebody who thinks that he's crazy, but he's looking for somebody who is on the same page that he is, you know? Yeah. So, you know, Jeff kind of goes up to him with like a Colgate smile, and he's like, yeah, I want to go back in time. Like, you know, it's all crazy and rowdy, and I want to see this cool stuff. And he is completely disinterested, and I love his response is just like that smile.
Yeah.
You don't know pain. You don't know regret. Like,
yeah. It's such an interesting response to that, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's just clear that he wants a partner who feels the wrenching desire for like a do-over, you know, not just to like sightsee, you know. So.
Yeah, that's not about, I don't know. It's not about experiencing. It's about like actually changing something, and he believes that it's purposeful. You know, it's not just like time travel in like a touristy kind of way. It's like, oh, that'd be interesting to time travel.
Yeah,
it's like, no, the only reason to time travel is to do good, you know, and to right wrongs, you know?
Yeah.
Really, really fascinating. So I liked, so right off the bat, the movie starts very interesting. It's like really interesting. It's quirky. It's got like voiceover. You know, you realize Aubrey Plaza is like super adorable and like, you know, reinvigorates your crush on her if you like watch too much Parks and Recreation, you know?
Yep.
But I really got hooked on like that pacing and that style in the beginning. And I almost wish that like it would have kept that. Like it felt like quirky and interesting, and felt like, a bigger story to tell. It felt like it was like establishing like a world, and then it kind of just like pared down and was just like, no, we're going to focus on this right here. You know, not in like a negative way. It was just kind of like, here's everything you need to know about this girl. And then we're just going to like focus on this part of her life, you know?
I'm not sure I completely follow. Like,
I guess
do you feel like they left her character development in the beginning?
No. I felt like she was fully developed. I think in the beginning, I just wanted more of that pacing and style of storytelling, you know, like throughout the movie, you know what I mean? Like not everything like with the montage and stuff, but like I felt like establishing her like voiceover kind of thing was just like, oh, well, here's me. And I thought that would kind of like continue.
Oh, I get
into
what
the
you're
rest
saying.
of the movie.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It felt like
that
it was
would have
just
been
like,
interesting. There was a lot of heart in that.
And it felt like very genuine. It felt like a really, really quick primer to understand her. And I guess I just wanted more of that interaction. Like I was like, oh, okay, well, she's a journalist. She'll have like, I don't know, like confessional, or she'll be taking notes or anything. I was like, but she didn't really do any of that. It's kind of like my only like gripe with the film. I like fell in love with the style right off the bat, and then slowly fell in love with the rest of the movie. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But it would have been nice for them to sort of like revisit that whole like unpacking moment for each, because a lot happens. Like,
yeah.
She goes on a crazy emotional roller coaster with this guy. You know what I mean? From taking him seriously to, one thing I really enjoyed was there was never like a firm declaration of how one person felt about another person, even though there was a lot going on. Everyone sort of learns to love each other. Like as she's training, she learns to like him. As she confesses to him, he sort of learns to like her. Yeah. And you find that there are these small moments that hint at shifts, right? Where like when Kenneth is sort of recording, he's recording like these tapes of the progress that he's making, and he's like, you know, this mission has to do with regrets. Yeah. And then he sort of like appends and love, and then like feels kind of weird and like doesn't know why he said that or whatever. And
like he opened up way too much.
Yeah. And you know, another moment that kind of really stuck out was when she found out that he has a fake ear. Yeah. That was like such an amazing like moment, you know what I mean? Because up to that point he was completely stoic and mission oriented, but then she got to see him completely undone, and it was just this really nice moment where they could both be undone like with each other, and she could kind of, you know, comfort him and let him know like,
I think it was a really nice like human moment, you know? It was kind of like everybody has that thing that they're embarrassed about, like afraid they'll be ridiculed about, and like his was out in the open and is out in front of this girl that I don't even know if he liked her. Maybe I don't know. I'm so torn as to whether or not he actually liked her. You know, like I don't really know if Kenneth actually super felt anything for her. Like I always felt like he was motivated just to get back in time, like to see Belinda.
Right. Well, one thing they didn't address was that you're right, because he never really explicitly stated anything with her.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I guess gave me resolve was in the. I guess we can jump to the ending for now. Like,
yeah.
In the ending, she sort of had already revealed to him that she knew that he was lying about, this relationship that he had with this ex-girlfriend, and that it was actually somebody who wasn't really interested in him at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really work through that, right? But for some reason, even though she knows and he knows that this past that he's going back to fix that never actually happened, he still wants her to come along.
Yeah.
And they still, I don't know where they go then or what they fix. And, I guess they didn't feel like it was really important to, but I assumed like the reason was because they're going back together.
Right.
To do that together.
Well, I kind of have like this theory about all that stuff, but I'm going to save it.
You say, okay.
I'm going to save it. We're going to take a little break and we will be back.